I, Zhuangzi, ask you, have you not lived your whole life enslaved by worries for your children in the eyes of others? Now empty that heavy burden and be as free as the clouds. You truly deserve it.
The more we strive to be useful parents to our children, the more painful does our old age become. Are there parents out there who are losing sleep over their children? Would you believe that an ancient philosopher from over 2,000 years ago could provide a shocking answer that resonates with us today? Today, we are going to embark on a journey to that wellspring of wisdom. Many of you may be experiencing various difficulties in your relationship with your children. You might find yourself feeling hurt while waiting for a simple phone call to check in, or anxiously anticipating your child's visit during the holidays. It's not uncommon to feel upset when your efforts to help are rejected or when your genuine intentions are misunderstood. The desire for your children to succeed and to be of help in their lives is a natural sentiment that every parent holds. However, could it be that these earnest wishes sometimes become shackles that bind us, making our later years even more painful? We often live under the social notion that parents must be dedicated to their children or must be useful to their children. Caught in these thoughts, we constantly give, expect, and then feel disappointed by our children. The source of this pain, which is the artificial attachments and expectations we have created ourselves, was already addressed over 2,000 years ago by the great Chinese philosopher Zhuangzi. Zhuangzi was someone who respected the principles of nature more than anyone else and warned against all things artificial. He urged us to break free from the thoughts and desires imposed by society and to return to our original, pure selves. It is the wisdom of allowing everything in the world to flow naturally, like flowing water or the wind, encapsulated in the philosophy of Wu Wei Ziren. Imagine this: an elderly couple sits in a dimly lit living room, silently staring at the phone. The phone doesn't ring, and a faint shadow is cast over their faces. Alternatively, you might picture a senior awkwardly smiling, unable to join the conversations at a family gathering. All these scenes reflect our deep desire to be loved by our children, to be recognized, and to feel that we still matter. However, when that desire transforms into expectation and obsession, we find ourselves trapped in an endless swamp of disappointment and frustration. Zhuangzi saw right through this aspect of our hearts. He explains that pain begins when we resist the natural flow of life, trying to force changes or constantly assign meaning and cling to it. So how can we break free from this cycle? Surprisingly, the wisdom of Zhuangzi suggests a path that is completely opposite to what we have traditionally understood. Just as a tree that has grown crooked and misshapen from enduring the elements for many years can survive in the forest longer than a straight and useful tree, the realization that striving to be a useful being for our children can paradoxically bind us in pain aligns with Zhuangzi's concept of the usefulness of the useless. In the next discussion, let's delve deeper into this paradox of usefulness and explore how we can truly seek freedom together. In the previous discussion, we briefly examined the concept of the paradox of usefulness presented by Zhuangzi, known as the usefulness of the useless. The paradoxical realization is that striving to be a useful parent devoted to our children can actually trap us in suffering. Just as a straight and useful tree is cut down early to be used as timber, a crooked and seemingly useless tree endures for many years in the forest, preserving its life. Zhuangzi quietly suggests that there is profound wisdom to be gained at this point. When you think about it deeply, isn't it true? In our younger years, we had no hesitation in giving everything for our children. We actively intervened in their lives, sometimes offering advice and at other times making decisions for them, feeling a sense of satisfaction in being truly useful parents to these kids. However, as we age and our children lead their own lives, we face the reality that we can no longer have a direct impact on their lives as we once did. Some may feel this as powerlessness or uselessness, sinking into a deep sense of loss. Even when parents want to do more for their children, they often find themselves powerless or frustrated because their children no longer want it, a heartbreaking scene we commonly witness around us. Have you ever experienced the feeling of your heart sinking when you offer a carefully prepared gift, only to receive a casual response like, "It's okay, Mom, you can stop now"? As these moments accumulate, we tend to label ourselves as useless beings, often drowning in shadows of loneliness and disappointment. However, at this point, Zhuangzi completely shifts our perspective by suggesting that now, when the power to interfere with our children has vanished, is actually the time when your soul can truly be protected and thrive. Just as a seemingly useless tree stands uncut, enjoying its life fully in the forest, we can finally set down the heavy burden of parenthood and live our own time fully when we stop trying to force ourselves into our children's lives. The image of a senior happily sitting comfortably in the sunlight, enjoying their own hobbies and spending leisurely time with old friends, is perhaps the true freedom that Zhuangzi envisioned. In the contrast between parents who once devoted everything to their children and those who now live solely for themselves, we discover a paradoxical sense of fulfillment and deep relief. Of course, merely understanding this paradox of usefulness intellectually will not easily dispel the deep-seated worries and expectations we have for our children. Thoughts like, "Are my children doing well? Have they forgotten about me? And is there anything they are upset about?" constantly torment us. Zhuangzi offers another wise path to break free from this mental bondage, the spirit of Soyaoyu, free and easy wandering. Soyaoyu literally means to roam leisurely, but it encompasses a much deeper and transcendent philosophical meaning that goes beyond simply enjoying leisure. We often mistakenly believe that our children's hearts and behaviors are like a part of our own bodies, or that they should move according to our will. However, children are clearly independent individuals, and their lives and choices belong entirely to them. Just as a fish trapped in a small pond cannot imagine the vast world outside, or a bird in a narrow cage is unaware of the endless sky, we may be confining ourselves within the narrow boundaries of being a parent, feeling frustrated. When we become overly emotional about every little thing our children do, and swing between heaven and hell with just a single message from them, our later years can feel like being trapped in an invisible prison. It is in this frustration that we find it difficult to seek true peace. Zhuangzi helps us escape from the swamp of these emotions and awakens us to the wisdom of viewing our lives from a much larger perspective. Through the metaphor of the great bird, Depeng, he explains the true meaning of wandering freely. When Depeng spreads its wings, it soars effortlessly into the skies, reaching heights of thousands of miles, its presence grand and majestic as if it could fill the heavens. Just as small birds cannot comprehend Depeng's flight and merely mock it from the ground, we often find ourselves trapped in the trivialities of human relationships or the constraints of our emotions, missing out on the greater and more essential meanings of life. However, when we look down at the world from the heights of thousands of miles like Depeng, the small conflicts before us or minor disagreements with our children will seem infinitely small and insignificant. Shall we compare our lives to the flight of a great bird? The time spent raising your children may have been akin to the moments when the great bird was vigorously flapping its wings on the ground, preparing to soar into the high sky. Now, like that great bird that can freely fly across the vast sky, it is time for you to transcend the constraints of parenthood and embark on your own expansive journey through life. Just as a senior leisurely strolls against the backdrop of the sea, Zhuangzi suggests that a life wandering freely, unbound by the constraints of the world, is the true state of carefree existence. By breaking free from the obsession with your children's lives and focusing solely on yourself to find inner peace, we can finally savor true freedom and liberation. If we can break free from our obsession with our children's lives and focus solely on ourselves to find inner peace, we can finally experience true freedom and liberation. However, taking it a step further, Zhuangzi calls for a deeper reflection on our mindset towards our children. Are you perhaps still staring blankly at a silent phone, anxiously waiting for a call from your child? Zhuangzi sharply points out that this may be no different from desperately begging for your child's attention and love. Being overly anxious and fluctuating in emotions over small signals from our children can be a desperate act, much like pleading for rain on parched land, but it may sometimes come across as pitiful. Zhuangzi presents the concept of Xianzhai as a method to escape this state. Xianzhai refers to the practice of emptying the mind. It is not merely about creating emptiness, but about thoroughly clearing away the distractions and desires of the world, especially the various expectations and attachments directed towards our children. It is a process of letting go of the hopes and lingering feelings we have for our children, much like cleaning a dusty room. Emptying the heart does not mean giving up on your children. Rather, it is a preparatory process for greater love and wisdom. Just like a senior quietly meditating and sipping tea, it is about regaining inner peace and becoming a fulfilled being. When you empty your heart and let go of all expectations, paradoxically, amazing things tend to happen. Children, weary and seeking comfort, often come to rest and lean on the calm and unwavering shade of their parents. When parents radiate their own fullness and light, children finally take steps of respect and relief. Some parents, when they perceive that their children are indifferent or heading down the wrong path, often try to forcefully teach or change them in some way. However, Zhuangzi warns that this artificial intervention, the intentional interference by humans, is the very beginning of suffering. Just like hands trying to straighten a forcibly bent tree, no matter how hard one tries, one cannot go against the laws of nature. A child's life is also like a river. Sometimes it encounters rough rapids, sometimes it flows gently, and at other times it takes unexpected turns. We must respect the natural flow, just like leaves being carried along by the current of that river. When strong winds blow, it is wiser to let the wind pass rather than trying to stop it. The same goes for our children's lives. Even if their choices and actions differ from our expectations, it is true wisdom, as Laozi would say, to watch over their path with generosity rather than forcing a change. Showing the image of a generous adult who flows freely like the wind and flexibly like water is the way to truly achieve victory by freeing ourselves from the obsession over our children's lives. This act does not mean letting go of our children, rather, it becomes a gift